go back to Olumide. In this sector for a minute, and in terms of finance, as I mentioned earlier, that finance is one of the challenges we hear. We hear a lot of programs from commercial banks, governments, venture capital, grants, and a lot of people focus on the smaller farmers. Unlike you, Sal, you guys focus on the big time players. But I want to find out, how can we make finance? How can we work out a way where finance is sustainable in accessing finance? Or most importantly, for the SMEs, the value addition, the little guys that are just doing the little value addition, where do they get access to finance? Can you share more on that if you have any information on it?
Okay, thanks a lot, Yowande. It's a tough question because unfortunately in agriculture, and perhaps that's to your point, such a large percentage of agricultural operators are actually smallholders. So until one is able to reach these guys and support these guys, you can't really say we're doing anything in agriculture. On one hand, I think the government has actually been working hard on that, and I think the gentleman, Mr. Kowi, spoke earlier about some of the things that the government is putting in place, the anchor borrower scheme and a few others. The issue with smallholders in Nigeria is because they are so many, so small and so fragmented. So any structure, any investment instrument that is one going to use, will probably have to put them in some kind of cooperative. You know, it will be except it's going to be government related, government sponsored or government structured approach. It will be hard for any private individual to actually have make a impact on the smallholders on almost like an individual, which is what we attempted to do by rather than deal with them directly, almost work with anchor borrowers or almost like off takers who can indirectly reach these guys. And we've seen quite a bit of that happening. You might know that we have a rice processing plant, we have a cassava processing plant, and what we have seen is that some of these companies actually work with smallholder farmers to help them by providing the kind of inputs they require. There are a few things that I saw that I was going to mention when talking about how to create sustainability in agriculture in agriculture in Nigeria. Some of them I'm touching on already. But most of the things that I've seen, that from what I've seen and what I believe can work, will require these smallholder farmers to come together. You know, either by cooperatives or by under some kind of off-taker or anchor borrower. Because it's only, but for that to happen, even they have to show some level of seriousness. Right now, a lot of smallholder farmers just believe that because they are producing, their family has been producing, and just keep producing without thinking through some of the rigors of how do I improve the quality of my produce. So until they begin to do that, is we had another issue which a lot of people would not want to mention, is that unfortunately, with all the efforts and attempts to help smallholder farmers, there's such a big issue with ethical issues among smallholder farmers. I mentioned about some of these anchor grower programs, and I mentioned about opticals, but many of these instruments, many of these interventions have not worked because most times the smallholder farmers, they see these interventions as like their own piece of the national cake. So they never really want to pay back. They never really want to hold. So you have an anchor, you have an off taker that promises that everything this farmer produces, I will buy. And for that reason, he gives that farmer all the inputs he needs. At the point of the harvest, that smaller farmer begins to side sell, side sell to somebody else that has not, because he wants to make some profit. When you already have a guaranteed offtake arrangement. So obviously in the next season, as an officer will not jump at that. What has helped, which is why I talked about putting them together, is I think many times peer pressure actually helps these farmers when they feel that if they actually go against some of what they've actually agreed to do, that their brothers or their uncles may not be able to benefit from those kinds of schemes in the future. That may just restrict them from from doing something wrong. But I think the government has actually, and I try to avoid putting any on the government's plate, unnecessarily. But I think to a reasonable extent, I think efforts have been made by the government, yeah, through the CBN, through BOI, through NERSAL and Co to both directly and indirectly impact these farmers. I've also mentioned a few of them private equity firms, particularly some like ours that try to even look for ways of reaching them. And of course, knowledge is key. Like I know that sometime in August, if I remember correctly, I think one Deville and a few other institutions did a value chain analysis about maize and all palm and a few others. And a few of my colleagues that joined actually found some of those some of those um, Zoom webinars and Zoom meetings, which actually I know farmers can do, typically don't, but some of those help to actually let people see and know the challenges that these farmers are having. And the question is how individually through our own businesses we can actually reach them. The last one I'll mention, and then I think somebody alluded to it earlier when they were talking about hazard capital, is that because the conventional debt and equity markets have been so impacted by the economy, people like we've seen a lot of individuals and small entrepreneurs that are looking for where to invest their money. So they're looking for um, shadows, they're looking for shadow farmers, they're looking for farm groups that they can actually give this money to that will be like a proxy farmer to them, that help them to actually invest this money in the agricultural business. People are seeing the opportunities, and small older farmers can actually benefit from actually reaching this crowdfunding type of structures, but they don't have typically have the kind of rules and requirements that the banks typically have. So I think, of course, in recent time, we've seen that some of those schemes, those crowdfunding schemes have had challenges, but there are still a few that I think that if well structured, that if farmers are aware of them, they may be able to benefit from some of them. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Umude. Thank you. With Mr. Hassan, I wanted to verify,
Yes.
do we have, if you want to access finance, do you have to go through commercial bank to access finance with NASAL, or you can come directly to NASAL? I think we should verify that for the audience.
Oh yeah. Thank you very much, Wendy. Let me just make this clear. NASA is not a financing company. It's a facilitator of finance. What I'm saying in essence is that NASA doesn't give fund or cash financing to farmers. We are a de-risking company. What we do majorly is to understand the risk involved in and agribusiness and try to see how we can mitigate those risks. So straight to your question, you have to go through commercial bank or other sources of financing like government intervention funds, all of those. So you have to go through commercial bank and of course meet the financing criteria for those institutions before we can only begin to give assurance to those financiers that yes, we are standing behind the person accessing fund from you to make sure that he return the money to you. And in the event where that does not happen, we give you back in terms of our guarantee certain percentages of the fund the person has taken. And so that is exactly what NASA is created to do majorly. So you have to go through commercial banks or other sources of funding. And that is why NASA is a big player in the Anchor Boras Fund. Anchor Boras Fund is a government fund through the CBN. And so it's not NASA's fund directly. So we participate by facilitating that fund to avail to the farmers and the agribusiness. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So if I wanted finance or I wanted to access finance, my first point of contact will be my commercial bank, right?
Majorly, yes. If, of course, that is a business decision, good.
I can't come to you as my first point of contact.
You can, and of course, I will appropriately advise. I'll give you advisory on how best to go about it. So either way.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Hassan.
You're welcome.
Mr. Wale from Fidelity, I have another question for you. And I feel like I'm always putting you on the hot seat. Are you with me?
I'm here.
Okay. Mr. Wale, please, I know we talked about accessing finance and we talked about the farmers, but one of the things I wasn't really clear about is for the SMEs with added value. So even though they're not farmers, they don't have land and everything, so you had already given us examples of a regular farmer. Can you give us an example of a regular SME, like maybe off taking from farmers
Okay, thank you.
or a
You know,
sector, not necessarily food production, maybe a drone person that does drone photography or media or just any other or logistics from that perspective.
okay, see, lending is the same in terms of principle, irrespective of the sector. Okay, so like I said, first and foremost, we need to know who you are and for how long have you been in this business. The records that you have, the historical records to show that, yes, I've been in this business for this period and this is the reports that I have. So when we review that in line with how much of your own money do you have in the business that you are doing, and then we can take a decision. However, for some categories of business, you may not necessarily have all of this. We can do a structured lending. For instance, you are in the process of value addition. You are not the primary producer. You are not the ultimate consumer. What you are just in between that value chain. Okay? You need to supply, let's say, eggs to a Sheraton hotel. All you need to do for us to fund you is identify the source of procurement and have a guaranteed offtake arrangement with Sheraton. So all we need to do is that when we are paying, we pay directly to the supplier, the vendor that owns the business. And we ensure that we support you in moving the eggs from point of purchase to the consumer. So we have funded you. Even sometimes you may not even have specific equity in the business because it is structured. We have the supplier of the product, we have off-taker of the product, we are guaranteed that the off-taker can pay, has the capacity. So we fund it from the procurement, we make sure that it's supplied to the off-taker, and then the payment is made, you made your spread, and the bank is good. So it's not in all cases that the customer must provide land, he must provide all the records. So if the structure is right in such a way that I can monitor the flow of the cash from point of disbursement to the point of the money coming back to the bank. So that we can also do irrespective of the sector, whether you are in agribusiness or you are in other businesses, particularly for small and medium scale, practitioners. So it's doable. It's not in all cases that you must have a structured unit, you have land, you have title document. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. If you are within that value chain and we can see through the transaction that our fund is secured, and then we are guaranteed that the money will come back through the structured arrangement, we do. I mean, for instance, I mentioned to us that we support some of our commodities customers who export. Or sometimes we provide funding for you to buy from local buying agents. And what we show, we have a tripartite warehousing arrangement. So the goods comes to us, we pay, and then you already have an offtake agreement with a buyer in France or in UK or in Asia. So we fund the procurement of the commodities, whether it's cocoa, whether it's cashew, whether it's Sesame Street, we fund it. The tripartite warehousing arrangement ensures that the goods are moved from your warehouse to the port, and we have an LC that is in place. So once the supply is made, the payment comes either in naira or in dollar, depending on the arrangement, and every part of the value chain is fine. And we are doing that, and we're doing it successfully at least since I've been here in the last 4 years, we have many customers that are, benefiting from this structure, and we've not had any issue. It's structured lending, and it has worked perfectly for us.
Thank you very much, Osawale. So I'm coming for you. So I'll send some people to you after this session.
I'm here.
Thank you. To round up, before we get into the Q&A session, you're welcome. Thank you. Before we get into the Q&A session, if you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A box, not the chat box. Keep your questions coming. To round up, our last question goes to Mr. Rotimi Olawale. Rotimi, you've been in the sector for a couple of years, and what advice did you give to other entrepreneurs trying to get into the sector or even trying to access finance? Also, one of the other questions I wanted to ask you is, what are the recurring trends with entrepreneurs when they're trying to access funds? So what advice do you give them to access from your own experience on how to grow your business? Rotimi, are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you, Yewande.
Okay.
So I'll be very quick about it. From my experience, I would advise young entrepreneurs who are getting into the sector to first invest in knowledge and grow the business slowly, stage by stage. What we have seen often is that people want to grow the business so fast, and then they don't have the knowledge capacity to sustain the growth. So for me, there are various forms of capital that you need to run a business. Intellectual capital is very important, is one of them. And that's what I think young entrepreneurs who are coming to the sector should invest in first. For example, now, in JR Farms, we've been operating for a couple of years, but we have our first record of loan just this year, March, to finance a partnership with Dana Airline. Either two, we have had opportunities of loan, but we just realized we thought or we believed that we're not mature to start taking loans, you see. But today you see a young entrepreneur who's going into the sector and then is taking proposals from one bank to another, something you have never done before, and then you want to start it up with loan, particularly in a very complicated in a very complicated environment like where we have, where things are not really straightforward. There are a lot of infrastructural challenges. So for me, I think the advice would be to invest in knowledge first before you think of financing. Know what you're doing, know what the sector demands, understand the challenges, and then grow with it. Then you can now think of how you can get funding in the sector. Yeah, and also, I would advise young entrepreneurs to explore, look beyond, it'd be innovative. For example, now, Netherlands is the second largest world exporter of avocado, but they don't plant avocados in Netherlands. So it's not about trying to plant this or trying to plant that. You could just you could just be someone who is taking this from point A to point B. For example, like the example of avocado I gave of Netherlands. Netherlands come to Africa as a company. We have worked with the Dutch embassy on a couple of projects, and so they come to Africa, they plant, and then they take it back to Netherlands. You have companies like Lamboyster doing potato flour from the Netherlands, also supplying McDonald's around Europe, and then also bringing stuff. But most of those potatoes come from Rwanda, from East Africa generally, and also from West Africa. You see, so we just need to be innovative. We don't need to go the traditional route as young people. You need to see how you can connect the dots, like I often say. Just look for areas of connectivity you can get. You don't have to go to the point of owning a farmland. If you have to, it's fine. But there are other things that can be done in the sector beyond going the traditional route. So we need to be innovative as young people get into the business. Yeah. So I think those are key advices I would give for young people who are getting the sector and looking forward for finance. And go out of Nigeria also. Go to other countries in Africa to explore opportunities. Don't sit down with opportunities in Nigeria alone. Go to Ghana, go to Ivory Coast, go to other countries across Africa. There are opportunities in the sector over there. Yeah, we're all one African. Yeah, I'm a Pan-Africanist anyway, and our business works we work in 3 countries in Africa now. So I think it's something exciting for young people to do, to to go to other countries within Africa to explore opportunities in the agri value chain there. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rotimi. And yes, Rotimi is in other African countries. So yes, he can explore, be open to opportunities. But I'll add this to it. Start with Nigeria. Invest in Nigeria first before you move out of Nigeria. Thank you for that. Thank you. We'll get into the Q&A session right now. I have a couple of questions. Some of them are things that already been answered, but I'll take it again for maybe there's some clarification that needs to be done. The first question is from, okay, an anonymous person. How can farmers get financial assistance from government, like loans? What are the process to access it? I'll let Nasal take that.
You want me to take that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Mind you, I don't work for government, but I will just, as much as possible, give that advice. Government has a whole lot of responsibility to create an enabling environment for farmers and agribusiness all over. And wherever you are in your state, there are agencies of government that are established to take to help new businesses and farmers come on board. So I would say that, like somebody mentioned earlier, that people in Kwara, they can visit AgroMall for plethora of opportunities. And a government technical advisor, our assistant, actually mentioned a whole lot of things that the state government is doing to help agribusinesses and farmers in the state. I think they can direct their inquiries to these agencies and ministries of government. In terms of, and of course, there are other federal government interventions too, like the rep of the vice president earlier also mentioned a whole lot that is coming, and the guidelines are always shared all over for people to key into. Thank God, social media and the internet is there now for every one of us. The recent one is the private-led accelerated agricultural development scheme, which of course it's been there, but now they are involving the private sectors more. And of course, they can't do it in isolation. They still have to look at agribusinesses that are existing and that the new ones that are coming. So all of this up in the air for get to CBN website. You can see a whole lot of activities going on. Check nasa.com. You see a whole lot of information around assessing opportunities in agribusiness and farming. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The next question, I think you answered the next question as well. Do you collect interest from farmers on CBN funded loans? I'll just answer that CBN funded loans do have interest, but a lower interest rate. Just answer two more questions because most of the things here have been answered before. I'm guessing you have to be a Fidelity Bank customer before you can actually access their loans. So that's easy. You have to be a customer with the bank. Am I right, Mr. Wale?
You are very right. You have to open an account with us to benefit directly, either from Fidelity loans or intervention guaranteed loans.
Okay. Coming from Fidelity Bank. How can I register my farmland and business with government? We talked about farmland and business. That has to be the state government or the federal government. Mr. Wale, do you want to add to that? Hello? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so Mr. Wale, well, I'll just answer that. To register my farmland and business, how can I register my farmland and business with government? So that would be a government official. I know you have to do it with the state or the federal government. So that has to be a government official that can answer that. The last one, is there a limit to the amount of loans that can be granted to individuals? That is based on what exactly you need to upskill your business. So is there limits? Does anybody in the financial sector want to answer that?
Sorry, what's the question? I was disconnected temporarily, please.
Oh, sorry. Is there a limit to the amount of loans that can be granted to individuals?
Okay, can I answer that?
Yes, please answer that. That will be our last question, please. We have to move on time. Mm-hmm.
Okay. In terms of how much can a bank grant to individuals? Yes, I mean, there is a limit, there is no limit. Sorry, I'll just put it that way. There is a limit in the sense it's a function of what you want to do. If all you need, what the funding requirement for your project of million. If it is up to 1 billion, then you also be able to access 1 billion. So it's a function of the business or project requirement that will determine the amount to be given. Now, if it is an individual, yes, you have an obligor limit for an individual, but more importantly, you need to be able to access loans from a bank, you need to have a registered entity in terms of either registered as an enterprise or as a limited liability company. So, and I want to believe when you say individual, you're not talking of Wale Mesioye, you are talking of maybe Wale and Friends Nigeria Limited. So there is no limit and there's a limit. A limit is a function of what precisely you want to fund and what the funding requirement for that project or for the business. That will determine the limit that the bank will offer you. And usually the bank will also want you to also have equity. Like I said, if it's 100 million, depending on the nature of the business and the risk that the bank can put to it, they will need you to also have certain percentage as equity involvement in the business.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Wale. And there's someone that asked about interest rates. Interest rates varies depending on the facility you're getting, so I would answer that. Thank you very much for joining us today. I want to use this opportunity to thank all our panelists for joining us, to being here, taking time to join us rather. And more importantly, I want to thank Hearts and Capital for putting this webinar together. Thank you very much. And I'll just pass it on to our MC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yewande. Thank you so much. I think you should go into the broadcast world as well.
Thank you.
So I think you're on mute. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, so I'm saying a big thank you to Yewande. I'm saying go into the broadcast world as well. So you did amazing. Well,
thank you. I'll come for you. Thank you.
And then a big thank you to all of our moderators as well, and then our guest speakers. Well done. Thank you. You guys have did justice to all of the topics. And then I am sure now that a whole lot of people can see that there are so much opportunities and then in the agricultural system that a lot of people can venture into and then they can do well. So this is open for a lot of young people who would always walk up to me about wanting to come into agriculture and all of that. So this is it. And then we can always speak to Art and Capital to put you through a whole lot of stuff that you do not know about. Okay, thank you so much, guys. It's been an amazing time all the way. So I am going to call on the HOC to please come on now to give us a vote of thanks. And after that, I'm going to drop one or two words and I'm going to say, well done, and then see you guys some other time. I don't want to say goodbye because I still want to see a whole lot of you guys again and again and again and again. So I'm also going to be walking up to one or two of my speakers here because I think I'm actually going to go in. I'm a farmer also, but I don't go to the farm. Arts and Capital don't make me go to the farm. They just make me sit at home and get a return from my farming and all that. So HOC, please. the floor is open for you to please give a vote of thanks, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Latif. Thank you, everyone. Your Excellency, the representative of the Vice President, the person of Dr. Andrew Kwasari, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Kwara State, distinguished panelists, moderators, and our electable hosts. It is my privilege to have been asked to give the vote of thanks on this occasion. I, Jimo Balikis, on behalf of the management and the entire team of Art and Capital Nigeria Limited, want to extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all the speakers, moderators, our delectable hosts, and the panelists for gracing this event and sharing with us from your experience and findings today. It is pertinent we go over the goal we are trying to achieve with this conference because it is more of a CSR to us, and we are able to tick most of all the goals we want to achieve with it. The panelists were able to tell us the type of land development scheme provided on part of the government, the development opportunities on the dairy value chain, the private sector inclusion how private sector inclusion is important to achieving sustainability because the government can't do it alone. Several agri-financing schemes by the venture capital, the commercial banks, and the government that are available for the startups and agribusiness companies to tap into. Getting situation analysis from the grassroots so as to provide solution to the smallholder farmers because they provide up to 70% of the farm produce we get yearly. We are all inspired and we are grateful for your contribution today. Distinguished speakers, panelists, moderators, ladies and gentlemen, we will all agree that events like this need to come to an end. And our hope is that we all go back to our table and retrace our steps and retrace the steps we've learned here today to drive agriculture to a place where sustainability can be achieved. Once again, we are all grateful to everyone here present. We thank you for being with us today, and it's been a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jima Balkis. Thank you so much, my HOC. Well done. And then a big thank you to every one of you for giving time out of your very tight schedule to please be here. And then it's been a very great moment with you all. I appreciate everyone, every single person right here. I appreciate from Your Excellency, the Vice President, and here represented by the Senior Special Assistant on Agriculture, Dr. Kwasari, and to every other person, to all of our moderators, to all of our speakers, thank you so much. God bless you all. And to my boss, thank you for making me host this. I think this is my first Zoom meeting hosting a Zoom meeting. So thank you for making me do this. Thank you so much. And then it's been an amazing time. And then for me, I would always tell people Art and Capital. I didn't make a mistake carrying the brand on my head and being a brand ambassador of Art and Capital. So for everyone who is willing to farm and you do not want to go to farm, you can always contact us and then we can make you be a farmer and earn your return without you getting to the farm. A whole lot of other things in stock, and then we'll be getting back to you on so many other stuff. Just contact us and then we'll do the needful. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you. My name remains Latif Adedmeji Adetola. I'm an actor. That's the only thing I do for a living. Thank you so much, guys. It's been an amazing time with you. God bless you all. Thank you so much. Umar?